always looking to get involved in TV in some shape or form, and never really found a really good vehicle for it. And then in talking with Chuck and Nick, they presented me with this idea of a bookie, which I really gravitated to, just because you don't really hear a lot of TV shows centered around a bookie, and I was tired of playing myself in a lot of these projects that I was doing. So yeah, that's kind of what led me to be interested in this.
Yeah. Chuck, is it right that you watched The Irishman, saw Sebastian in that, and thought we should come up with something for it?
This Crazy Joe Gallo scene with Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, it was something else. And that's when Nick and I thought, all right, we don't want to go with psychotic killer. That's maybe not the approach that we would be best at. But a guy who's living in that gray area, who's a criminal, but you know, the kind of criminal that is probably more of a victim than a predator. And that's what made this whole thing come together for us.
He's the kind of criminal you can root for.
You can root for it, and he takes so much shit along the way. And that was part of the fun of it, is it's hard to be a criminal in the city.
Really tough out there, right? You and Nick have worked together on a number of other shows, Mom and Bob and Heartfelt Abishola. Were you looking to do something else in this gray zone, or was it seeing Sebastian that made you go down that route?
It was a combination. This is an area that I found fascinating. It's, you know, touches on things that I've done in other walks of my life. But it really was sitting down. The idea of working with Chuck and Sebastian was really exciting to me. And then we realized this is a chance to do something deviant for us, and not right in the living room and who's going to take the fucking suitcases upstairs. You know, let's break it up a little bit. And this show has really been a wonderfully fun departure for us as writers.
You alluded to some of the things you've done before, but they fit very much in this world with your work on ESPN, and you know, you both worked on those comedies before, but have this betting background, right? Is this a sort of melding of the two?
Yeah, it was. You know, it turned out to be really interesting timing. You know that. You know, yeah, I used to do a betting segment about NFL bets gone bad on SportsCenter for years with my wife, as sort of the long-suffering wife, and what's ironic is we got shut down by the NFL when their contract was up to do games. And that's when, long enough ago, I think Tagliabue was commissioned. And you know, he was like, well, we don't partner with betting. You know.
Do now.
You sure do now. And you know, cut to now where we haven't, you know, they have official betting partners. I have to tell you, the Ohtani thing fascinates me right now because it's ripped from the headlines. It's so our show. And here's a guy who's a pro player in LA where it is not legal yet, which is a big part of our show. And the way they're handling this, it keeps making me think of like when Babe Ruth missed, you know, 2 months of the 1925 season because he had a tummy ache, syphilis. We look back on that and it wasn't reported because we think, well, they didn't report things back in that day, but I'm watching how this is handled now. He's that same kind of unicorn that's so good for the game. I don't think they want him to be perceived as partnered up with gambling. So all these gray areas are gold for our show.
I don't think any of us expected the words Babe Ruth and syphilis to come out. So I applaud you for that. Sebastian and Omar, it's essentially a buddy comedy between these two guys, right? They're bookies, but this is a really fun relationship thing between the two of them. Is that how you see it?
For sure. You know, just working with them all the time, I'm noticing Ray and Danny are a lot like Nick and Chuck. So whenever we hear them laughing in the back, we know we're doing our job. But yeah, it's a love story between two guys who are brothers, right? And that's the way I've always perceived it. Even the first time that I came in an audition with Sebastian, I could feel the chemistry there for that first second. And I was like, oh, I think I might get this job. We were there, we were just on like that, and it was perfect. But yes, that's how I look at it. It's a workplace funny comedy. It just happened to be, the workplace happens to be the streets of LA.
Did you feel that chemistry as well, Sebastian?
Yeah, so when Omar came in to audition, he was the first one that walked through the door. He came in, and for the actors in the crowd, he came in prepared. Right? There was, off book. He was playing around, very loose, and I don't know. I felt like I might have went to college with this guy. I felt like there was a relationship already established there. So it was kind of easy to kind of go into the first season with him, him being a seasoned actor, and me not doing this as much, kind of guiding me along. He's kind of really a great guy to bounce things off of. And, hey man, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Am I doing this right? So he definitely helped me throughout the process of the whole thing. So yeah, it felt very natural.
Ray is a former football player, as Nick says. He's a hard guy. He could break your bones, but he's also a bit more sensitive and, dare I say it, woke than you expect him to be, right?
For sure, yeah. He's like he said, he's a visual deterrent. And he doesn't. I mean, he looks like he can break your bones, but he's a pacifist until shit comes to shit. And somebody has to get touched, But yeah, I really like playing. I like playing him because, like you say, he's the woke part of the duo, right? So whenever Danny might say something off kilter, he'll bring it back. Hey, that's not really that nice. We can't talk about people like that. Yeah. So it's a really it's a great character to play, because you really never seen anything like that before.
And he buys his mama a house. That's quite
Buys
nice.
grandma a house in Brentwood, and this season we're having a real good time with grandma. Grandma comes in throwing 100 miles an hour every time she's on set. If you guys watch the show, you're going to be watching for grandma. You won't be forgetting about Ray and Danny after a while.
Does her husband survive?
We don't know that. About season 2.
And what about Ray? Like we said, you sort of root for him. I can't quite tell if he's a good guy who's doing a bad thing. I mean, he's cheating on his wife, and he sort of doesn't necessarily treat her the best on one hand, but on the other hand, I think he cares for her, right?
Yeah, I don't know, there's so much dysfunction going on in the show that, I don't know, I feel like it's just okay. I mean, he's got three girlfriends?
3 baby mamas.
Yeah.
And 4 girlfriends.
He's just such a nice guy. It's like, yeah, okay, sounds about right. But yeah, I don't know, it's just, there's so much going on in the show, and I would think, as I'm watching the show, I'm kind of rooting for these guys, but we're really not, I don't know, I don't think we're that bad.
Chuck, you talked about the grey area, the criminality of it. I heard you say it was actually quite difficult to make with the NFL as well, almost echoing what Nick said, not allowing clips to use in the back. Was it tough to sort of figure out some of the...
Well, we learned that the NFL does not condone illegal gambling. So that leaves FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, Caesars, anything they have a piece of is legal gambling. So we did run into that wall,
Quite timely, what's going on in LA in baseball.
Front page news now, yes.
You kind of expected that when pretty good press or promo for season 2, I guess.
We can't believe that anybody would be stupid enough to bank wire millions of dollars because you can't hide that.
No,
I mean, it's a cash business when you're running a book. You don't write a check.
And we have a lot of consultants, and they were very forthright in pretty remarkable ways. The one thing we could never pin them down on was cash. And we always say, like, but in the modern world, isn't cash an unwieldy thing? And they go, no, it's great, man. You can pay your mortgage with cash? Absolutely. No. We never, So we watched the wire thing fascinated us.
And it was great to see you back with Charlie Sheen, a nice little 2.5 Men inspiration. How was that for you?
It was wonderful. It was really, truly wonderful. After so many years for us to reconcile, and I've always been an admirer of his work. His work is impeccable. After all this time, his chops are undiminished. And we had a lot of fun, and it was an extraordinary experience to put everything behind us and work together again. was really good.
Charlie strikes me as the kind of man who might own Joe Namath's jacket. Is that is that a real story, or is that purely fiction?
We made that up. But that shot of Sebastian walking out of the house with that coat on is one of the highlights of my career.
Can we expect to see Charlie back maybe in season 2?
I believe you will.
Talking of that, are you writing it at the moment? Are you sort of working on season 2 as we speak?
We're in production now, yeah, and we were lucky enough to have enough time to write the whole season before we started.
That's unusual for you, right?
It's a gift, so you can just focus on what's in front of you.
Other than Charlie, can you give us a tease where you're taking these guys? What sort of bother Danny and Ray going to get into?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, the interesting thing about their lives that we loved from season 1 was, number one, it's that kind of job where you walk through the door thinking you're just going to collect an envelope and then things get weird. That's what we just watched on that clip, right? It's one of the things we love about the premise. So every collection is an adventure. And they're also in a business where they have large windfalls, and then they are also vulnerable to predators, and they can get cleaned. There'll be a roller coaster ride, and there might be a trip to Costa Rica. We'll see.
Danny doesn't sell the book, does he, Sebastian?
I'm sorry?
Danny doesn't sell the book, does he? That would.
No, I can't give you anything. I don't even know if I'm allowed to even speak on the season. No, am I like, I'll say something and then the back door, what are you doing, bro? You can't give it away. No, you just gotta watch.
Yeah, fair enough. Like all good bookies, you keep your mouth shut, right? Keep your mouth shut.
What's that?
Oh,
Oh, God bless Hector Jorge's.
Garcia.
Well, on that note, Sebastian, Omar, Chuck, and Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.